Hello students, welcome to the lecture on organizing, and after this lecture we will be able to learn the following objectives. Describe the concept of organization, explain the organizing and its process. Describe the basis of departmentation, explain the authority and power. Briefly explain the line and staff concept. Understand the delegation and decentralization. Explain the span of management concept. Let's start with a brief introduction of organizing. The function of the management is getting prepared and getting organized. Organizing involves the design of individual jobs within the organization. Organizing at the level of the organization also involves deciding how to best departmentalize or cluster jobs into departments to coordinate effort effectively.
Our next topic is functions of management, in which I will list the functions. Planning is the first one we are going to discuss. Planning is the primary step of management. Planning is the process of making decisions about the future. It is the process of determining enterprising objective and selective future course of action necessary for their accomplishment. It is the process of deciding in advance that what is to be done, when and where it is to be done, how it is to be done and by whom. Applications of planning. Planning provides direction to enterprise activities so that the organizational objective can be fulfilled. This is known as halo effect. It bridges the gap between where we are and where we want to go. A proper planning helps the management to avoid uncertainty and wastage of resource. The second function which I am going to discuss is organizing. Organizing is concerned with the management of organizational resources such as people, material, technology, etc. The organization has to identify the activities and classify those activities into different groups, by assigning them different duties and responsibilities for better performance. The management has to organize both human and non-human resources, or we can say it is a conscious coordination of people towards a desired goal. Third function is staffing. It is the function of employing suitable person for the enterprise. It may be defined as an activity where people are recruited, selected, trained, developed, motivated and compensated for manning various positions. It includes movement of not only individuals into an organization but also their movement through promotion, job rotation, transfer and out, termination, retirement from the organization. Staffing involves selection of the right man for the right job by utilizing the following elements: manpower planning, recruitment, selection, training, compensation, performance appraise, promotion of suitable candidate, retirement. Fourth function is directing. It is the function of leading the employees to perform efficiently and effectively and also to contribute to their optimum for accomplishment of the organizational objective. The function of guiding and supervising the activities of the subordinates is known as directing. Directing tells people that what to do and see that they do it to the best of their ability, because acquiring human asset and placing them in suitable positions is not sufficient. Jobs assigned to them must be explained and clarified. Proper guidelines must be given with supervision and motivation to contribute for achieving the objective with enthusiasm and zeal. The following components must be remembered while executing directing function: leading, motivating, communicating, supervising. Coordinating is the fifth function. Coordination is a function of establishing relationship among various parts of the organization so that they are all together pulled towards organizational objective. It is the process of integrating together all the organizational decisions, operations, activities and efforts towards accomplishment of organizational goal. That's why coordination is a crucial function of management, which is regarded as integral part of all other function. The last one in the list is controlling. The objective of controlling is to ensure that actions are contributed for goal accomplishment. It helps in keeping the organizational activities on the right path or align them according to the plans. Controlling is a function of ensuring that the divisional, departmental, sectional and individual performances are measured and compared with that of the plan. If the measured performance is not satisfactory, the manager must find reasons and take corrective actions for rectification of that problem immediately. If the controlling function is to be effective, then it includes 1. Setting standard of performance. 2. Measuring actual performance. 3. Comparing actual performance against standards. 4. taking corrective active actions to ensure goal accomplishments. Successful management involves active participation by managers in the above managerial functions. These functions are interrelated and most managers use a combination of all simultaneously to solve the...
Let us now talk about the concept of organization. The concept of organization has changed in the fact that most organizations are adapting to the idea of educating their members to what they refer to as the learning society. Work specialization, sometimes called division of labor, is the degree to which organizational tasks are divided into separate jobs. Okay, now let's talk about the process of organizing. Organization is the process of establishing relationship among the members of the enterprise. The relationships are created in terms of authority and responsibility. Determination of objectives. It is the first step in building up an organization. Organization is always related to certain objectives. Enumeration of objectives. If the members of the group are to pool their efforts effectively, there must be proper division of the major activities. Assignment of duties. Specific job assignments are made to different subordinates for ensuring certainty of work performance. Delegation of authority. Authority without responsibility is a dangerous thing, and similarly, responsibility without authority is an empty vessel. Now we shall discuss the basis of departmentation. Departmentation is the process of grouping of work activities into departments, divisions, and other homogeneous units. Key factors in departmentation are: it should facilitate control, it should ensure proper coordination, it should not result in excess cost, it should give due consideration to human aspects. Functional departmentation. Functional departmentation is the process of grouping activities by functions performed. Advantages: easy control over functions, pinpointing training needs of manager. Disadvantages: lack of responsibility for the end result. It leads to increased conflicts and coordination problems among departments. Product departmentation. Product departmentation is the process of grouping activities by product line. Tasks can also be grouped according to a specific product or service, thus placing all activities related to the product or the service under one manager. Advantages: it ensures better customer service, makes control effective. Disadvantages: it is expensive as duplication of service functions occurs in various product divisions. Customers and dealers have to deal with different persons for complaint and information of different products. Customer departmentation. Customer departmentation is the process of grouping activities on the basis of common customers or types of customers. Advantages: it focuses on customers who are ultimate suppliers of money. Better service to customer having different needs and tastes. Disadvantages: sales being the exclusive field of its application, coordination may appear difficult between sales function and other enterprise functions. Specialized sales staff may become idle with the downward movement of sales to any specific group of customers. Geographic departmentation. Geographic departmentation is the process of grouping activities on the basis of territory. If an organization's customers are geographically dispersed, it can group jobs based on geography. Advantages: it helps to cater to the needs of local people more satisfactorily. Assists in development of all-round managerial skills. Disadvantages: communication problem between head office and regional office due to lack of means of communication at some location. Distance between policy frames and executors. Process departmentation. Geographic departmentation is a process of grouping activities on the basis of product or service or customer flow. Advantages: oriented towards end result. Pinpoints product profit responsibility. Disadvantage: conflict in organization authority exists, requires manager effective in human relation. Matrix departmentation. One of the mixed forms of organization is referred to as matrix or grid organizations. According to the situations, the patterns of organizing varies from case to case. The former structure must reflect the tasks, goals and technology of the organizations, the type of people employed and the environmental conditions that face it. Advantages: efficiently manage large complex tasks, effectively carry out large complex tasks. Disadvantages: conflict between bosses, requires high levels of management skills. Let's now talk about authority and power. That is the right given to the manager to achieve the objectives of the organization. It is a right to get the things done through others. A manager gets his authority from his position or post. He gets his authority from the high authorities. Power is the ability of a person or a group to influence the beliefs and actions of other people. It is the ability to influence events. Nature. Authority is the formal right given to a manager to make decisions or to command. Power is the personal ability to influence others or events. Organizational charts. Authority relationships can be shown in the organization charts. Power relationships cannot be shown in organization charts. Levels of management. Authority depends on the level of management. Higher the level of management, higher will be the authority and vice versa. Legitimacy. Authority is always official in nature, so it is legitimate. Power need not be official in nature, so it need not be legitimate. Position and person. Authority is given to a position or post. The manager gets the authority only when he holds that position. Concept and distinction. The terms authority and power are generally used interchangeably in practice, but there is a clear-cut distinction between the two. Whereas authority is the right to command, power is the ability to exercise influence. Sources of power. There are 5 sources or bases of power. Reward power. It is based on the influencer having the ability to reward the influence for carrying out orders. Coercive power. It is based on the influencer's ability to punish the influence for not carrying out orders or for not meeting requirements. Legitimate power. It corresponds to the term authority. It exists when an influencer acknowledges that the influencer is lawfully entitled to exert influence. Expert power. It is based on the perception or belief that the influencer has some expertise or special knowledge that the influencer does not have. Sources of authority. Management scholars are divided on whether authority originates at the top and flows down in traditional fashion or whether it originates at the bottom as a kind of consent of the subordinates. The views of various management writers are formal authority theory. According to this theory, authority is viewed as originating at the top of an organization hierarchy and flowing downward through the process of delegation. Acceptance theory. According to this theory, the authority is the power which is accepted by others. Competence theory. Urwick identified formal authority as being conferred by organization, technical authority as being implicit in a special knowledge or skill, personal authority as being conferred by seniority or popularity. Limits of authority. The authority of a manager is restricted by various factors such as physical limitations, physical laws, climate, geographical factors, etc. restrict managerial authority to a great extent. Economic constraints. The authority of an executive is restricted by economic constraints. Legal constraints. Various acts of the central and state governments also impose restrictions on the exercise of authority by a manager. Internal constraints. A manager's authority is limited by the objectives and policies laid down by the top management of the organization. Let's move on to the next topic, line and staff concept. Line and staff concept is a modification of line organization and it is more complex than line organization. Features of line and staff organization. There are 2 types of staff. Staff assistants, PA to managing director, secretary to marketing manager. Staff supervisor operation, control manager, quality controller, PRO. Line and staff organization is a compromise of line organization. Division of work and specialization takes place in line and staff organization. Efficiency can be achieved through the features of specialization. There are two lines of authority which flow at one time in a concern: line authority, staff authority. Power of command remains with the line executive and staff serves only as counselors. Merits of line and staff organization. Relief to line of executives in a line and staff organization. The advice and counseling which is provided to the line executives divides the work between two. Better coordination. Line and staff organization through specialization is able to provide better decision making and concentration remains in few hands. Training. Due to the presence of staff specialists and their expert advice serves as ground for training to line officials. Balanced decisions. The factor of specialization which is achieved by line staff helps in bringing coordination. Demerits of line and staff organization. Lack of understanding. In a line and staff organization, there are two authorities flowing at one time. Lack of sound advice. The line official get used to the expert advice of the staff. Line and staff conflicts. Line and staff are two authorities which are flowing at the same time. Costly. In line and staff concern, the concerns have to maintain the high remuneration of staff specialist. Assumption of authority. The power of concern is with the line official, but the staff dislikes it as they are the one more in mental work. Let's now discuss the problems of use of staff and ways to avoid line staff conflict. Workplace conflict is a time-consuming and costly problem that can have a severe impact on the bottom line. Conflict in the workplace is generally the result of serious disagreement over needs or goals, and can result in behaviors such as gossip, avoidance, verbal abuse, passive-aggressive communication, and hostility. Students, let's discuss about delegation. Delegation means devolution of authority on subordinates to make them perform the assigned duties or tasks. Concept of delegation. Delegation is the process of giving decision-making authority to lower-level employees. Benefits of delegation. Effective delegation can benefit the manager, the employee and the organization. Drawbacks of delegation. Managers' lack of motivation to delegate may be associated with a number of fallacies associated with delegations. Planning. Effective delegation is a highly skilled process that requires planning, thought and managerial skill. Process. The process of delegation is as critical as the planning because the poor process can reduce the effectiveness of the delegation in several ways. Elements of delegation. The process of delegation involves three essential elements or aspects: entrustment of responsibility or duty. Responsibility means the work or duties assigned to a person by virtue of his position in the organization. Granting of authority. Authority is the right or power granted to an individual to make possible the performance of work assigned. Power to produce or use raw materials, spend money or ask for allotment of money, to hire and fire people, etc. Creation of obligation or accountability. Accountability is the obligation to carry out responsibility and exercise authority in terms of performance standards established. Let's move on to the next topic, reasons for failure of delegation. The 5 common barriers are fear of failure. The reality is that everyone makes mistakes in the workplace, and if managed appropriately, mistakes can be excellent learning opportunities to both improve performance and improve operation. Envy of staff members' ability. So they are a little bit green with envy at that talented staff member whose ability in a certain area outshines own. Receptiveness. Delegation involves decision making, and decision making always involves use of discretion and foresightedness. Managers fear that their subordinates' decision may not be exactly the type the superior would have made. Readiness to delegate. People who gradually move up the executive ladder in the organization tend to keep on taking the decisions for the positions they have already left, allowing others to make mistakes. A responsible manager usually keeps an eye on the activities of the subordinates and does not allow such mistakes, which would endanger either the company or the position of the subordinate in the company. We shall now move on to the next topic, decentralization. A decentralized organization is one in which decision making is not confined to a few top executives, but rather is throughout the organization, with managers at various levels making key operating decisions relating to their sphere of responsibility. Advantages, benefits of decentralization. Decentralization has many advantages, benefits including top management is relieved of much day-to-day problem solving and is left free to concentrate on strategy, on higher level decision making and coordinating activities. Added responsibility and decision making authority often result in increased job satisfaction. Disadvantages of decentralization. Decentralization has 4 major disadvantages. Lower level managers may make decisions without fully understanding the big picture. Lower level managers may have objectives that are different from the objectives of the entire organization. Reasons for decentralization. There are many reasons given for decentralization. A desire or demand to roll back to the role of the state due to the central government failings or complexity of local issues. A view that democracy is best served through devolved functions with a substantially enhanced role for widespread participation at local levels. Let's now discuss the concept of span of management. The concept of span of management became important in traditional management theory because organizational structures based on a vertical flow of authority and responsibility depends upon a supervisor-subordinates relationship. Narrow span of control. Narrow span of control means a single manager or supervisor oversees few subordinates. Advantages. Close control of subordinates. Fast communication disadvantages. Too much control, high costs. Wide span of control. Wide span of control means a single manager or supervisor oversees large number of subordinates. Advantages. More delegation of authority, development of managers. Disadvantages. Danger of superiors, loss of control, requirement of highly trained managerial personnel. Early ideas on span of management. Spans of control can be deliberately enlarged by making workers more autonomous and more capable of managing themselves. Factors determining effective span situational approach. There are several factors which influence the span of management. Training of subordinates. The better training of subordinates increases the necessary superior subordinates relationship. Clarity of delegation of authority. Although training enables managers to reduce the frequency of time-consuming contact, but delegation of authority should be clear. Clarity of plans. If plans are well defined, if they are workable, if the delegation of authority toward plan is clear, if the subordinate understands what expected, then little of a supervisor time will be required. On the other hand, if plan cannot be drawn accurately and subordinates do much of their own planning, they may require considerable guidance. Rate of change. The rate of change is very important in formulating and maintaining policies. It may explain the organizational structure of companies, railroad, banking and public utility companies. Amount of personal contact needed. Many situations cannot be completely policy statements, planning document or other communications that do not involve personal contact. Variation by organization level. Several research projects have found that the size of the most effective span differs from organizational level. Maturity and motivation of subordinates. The more mature subordinates may delegate more authority, thus widening the span. Now in the end, let us summarize what we have learnt in this lecture. Management determines the division of work according to its need. It also has to decide for suitable departments to hand over authority and responsibilities. Decisions made about the nature of jobs within the organization are generally called job design decisions. The managerial function of organizing consists in making a rational division of work into groups of activities and tying together the positions representing grouping of activities so as to achieve a rational, well-coordinated and orderly structure for the accomplishment of work. Functional departmentation is the process of grouping activities by functions performed. Product departmentation is the process of grouping activities by product line. Tasks can also be grouped according to a specific product or service, thus placing all activities related to the product or the service under one manager.